Glad you could join us. I'm Felicity Ezewike. Let's begin with updates on the flood situation in Borno State. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu announced a disaster relief fund Monday in Maiduguri to assist Nigerian citizens impacted by floods and other disasters. He said the relief fund is already expedient as the climate becomes more unpredictable and many places in the country are vulnerable to its vagaries. I beg your pardon. President Tinubu announced this at the Borno government house when he visited the state to sympathize with the government and people over the recent flooding from Alau Dam. He urged the private sector to contribute to the fund.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu shikran isi nendira electoral kado. Awan dia sedra ada wauna. Basi ala shawara. Awan dia kema. Nendira shikaba kilo bindi luko unas. Sympathy kanu malpala. Mama. Kalau yana la kanguro de harza de wolsena. Am sandia pitana de zamze sambaso isen mo jumba pula wotiya ala sidia lungu kayende sundoro yende pura le bana
In the meantime, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, paid a visit to Borno State to sympathize with the government and people of the state on the devastating floods that had wreaked havoc in some communities. The IGP also paid a sympathy visit to the state governor, Babagana Zulum, at the government house, where the governor of Bauchi and other dignitaries were also present to sympathize with the Borno State government. Let's head now to security matters. Bandits attacked a church service in the Bakimpa Maro community of the Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State, leaving 3 people feared dead and 30 others reported kidnapped. Although the police authorities were yet to comment, the former chairman of Kajuru local government area, Kafra Kaino, confirmed the incident, noting that the assailants, who arrived in large numbers around 10 a.m., targeted both an Equa church and a Catholic church. Among those abducted is Bernard Gadera, a pastor from one of the churches. Officers of the Nigerian Army have been tasked to show a willingness to collaborate to effectively tackle terrorism and combat insecurity. This was at the graduation ceremony of the 2023 Course 2 of the Nigerian Army Resource Center, which held in the nation's capital, Abuja, following an intensive 11-month program for direct regular officers of the Nigerian Army. Amadine Uyi reports.
With the changing face of insecurity, terrorism and banditry, experts believe that the Nigerian armed forces must be willing to change its strategy to combat insecurity headlong. While troops on ground have been saddled with the responsibility of restoring law and order back to troubled communities, the need for training of personnel has never been more apt. As the Course 2 participants of the Nigerian Army Resource Center concludes their 11-month training program, senior military officials say the program focused on direct commissioned officers and aimed to replicate the same kind of training their colleagues at the National Defense College undergo.
The Leadership and Strategic Studies course is a senior level program designed to give direct regular commissioned officers and others found suitable to undertake the course a mirror of what the regular combatant colleagues go through at the National Defense College.
This is part of the efforts to raise their own level of awareness, level of training, and then we believe that the level of proficiency will improve.
The Chief of Army Staff says that the program helps participants interpret policy to properly formulate military strategy.
It is a strategic level program that accustoms participants to policy and strategy formulation at the lower strata of the military strategic level. The program gives participants an understanding of issues at the grand strategic level, and now senior leaders in the armed forces interpret policies to formulate military strategy.
He adds that participants of the program will be equipped to think out of the box to make informed decisions whenever the need arises. Also, the Director General of the Nigerian Army Resource Center tasked the graduating officers to be willing to collaborate to achieve operational objectives.
The Nigerian Army has, in recent years, made a deliberate effort to significantly increase its investments in developing operational and strategic level leaders required to think out of the box and interrogate issues sufficiently and objectively to make informed decisions.
Tackling the security challenge, just like we told them to, is not a sole agency responsibility. It's everybody's job. But they must have an open mind to want to relate and relate with everybody who matters. Not just deciding, oh, I want to talk to this person, I don't want to. They must take everybody along. Wherever they find themselves, they must find a way of relating with the locals, getting people to come along for them to believe in whatever they are doing.
The Army has also tasked the graduates to meet up to the high expectations placed on them by citizens. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Now, let's go back to our headline story tonight, of course, of the president's visit to Borno State. What we didn't tell you earlier was that he went to the show of Borno's palace to also pay condolences and sympathize with the people of Borno State on the disastrous flood. Let's hear him speak there now, and we'll come back and have a conversation on that.
Various prayers. This one disaster that we must pay attention to. We will help Borno State. Your Excellency, the Governor, I could see the commitment and love shown across the board. The Governor of Bauchi is here. He's of a different party. And this is what is expected of Nigeria.
Let's take a look at developments from Borno State with the flooding, the president's visit and other issues. We're joined now by a public affairs analyst, Moses Idika. Moses, thank you for joining us. Let's talk about the president's announcement of a disaster relief fund for, such a situation occurring in the future. Do you think his visit is enough? Some say better late than never. At least he showed it's enough to reassure Nigerians of the administration's commitment to addressing issues that has to do with disaster management.
Yeah, good evening and thank you. Yes, it's okay. It shows that he's in charge. His visit, President Tinubu's visit to Maiduguri is definitely in order. However, the real issue is not just his visit. It's what is the federal government's plan on climate-related issues. The flood in Maiduguri is not just a natural disaster. It was foretold. The Alau Dam that overflew its banks and then flooded more than 16 local governments in Borno State didn't just happen. It's something, it was a preventable occurrence. So what we are seeing in Borno State is also inherent in several states in the country. All our dams, in southern Nigeria, in northern Nigeria, we don't know the status of those dams. What is the maintenance status of those dams? That is in the on the side of dams. There are also other climate-related issues that predispose various communities, states, and several parts of Nigeria to all manner of natural disasters. Flood is just one of the natural disasters that as a result of, depletion of ozone layers of the climate. So what we should be talking about is what is the federal government's plan and policy about climate change, deforestation or afforestation, as the case may be, channelization of areas that are prone to flooding and all that. So
yeah, you said something pertinent here that, I mean, you align to all the analysts that I've spoken with when they say that the situation we have in Borno was totally avoidable if preemptive measures were taken. So on that score, I'd like you to speak briefly. In all of these visits that we've had from governors to security officials and now to the president, we've not heard of any accountability of punishment, perhaps, for actions that may inadvertently had led to the disaster that we have today. Aside from announcing a disaster relief fund, we also don't know what the policy direction or responses from the government to address the poor maintenance culture, the rot that we have there that you've also highlighted.
Well, just, taking it from where you stopped, the issue really is that public officials, governors, ministers, and the president himself don't seem to be abreast of the real issues. We have, in several parts of Nigeria, there could be forest fires. In some places, they are prone to flood. In some places, they are prone to landslides. In some places, too, they are prone to landslides. So the real thing that the government of Nigeria should be talking is we have to be proactive. We are not proactive in Nigeria. It's a policy issue that the dams, we have a number of dams in several parts of Nigeria, and we already know that there will be change in rainfall, there will be change in drought, there will be change in sunshine. And so we must now begin to plan on how to mitigate possible disasters. Because the governor of Borno State, Professor Zulum, is supposedly a learned person, but some time ago I read in the news where some people confronted him and he said that the dam was intact and there's no problem, there was no cause for alarm. But today we can see hundreds of Nigerians have died, homes have been washed away, businesses and
so but what is that indicative of? Because I'm very concerned about this seeming lack of accountability. Everybody's sympathetic, everybody's emotional about what has happened, and of course funds are being plowed in. If we don't have accountability as to the responsibility of civil servants who have pledged allegiance to the people failing to ensure that we don't have such a scenario, how are we sure that these monies that are being announced from 100 million to 200 million to relief efforts will be judiciously accounted for and utilized for the said purpose?
Well, I may be pessimistic, but all these millions, all these pledges from members of the National Assembly, from individuals, from corporate organizations, and from government, federal government of Nigeria, they are eventually going to end in the private pockets of certain persons who are close to the power echelon. Now, you find out that Nigeria is in crisis, and this crisis is not just climate change induced crisis. It's the crisis that people are not sincere. People in government are scavenging for public resources. Nigeria's resources, state resources, are seen as resources that belongs to no one, that if you can scavenge and get whatever you can get belongs to you. So you see that the government, even the government of Borno State, as we speak, has no response for the next foreseeable disaster arising from the Alau Dam. The Borno State government or the federal government of Nigeria, they don't have any plan. They cannot tell you.
All right, Moses, if there is one thing I want to take away from you tonight is a clear who is to blame for this disaster? Who should be held accountable? And what do we do without information? Because if we do not talk about that, we can talk about, relief from, the president has already announced a relief fund. How are we sure that that will be judiciously managed when we have no accountability? So I'd like you to tell us who is to be blamed for this.
Of course, the buck stops on the table of Professor Babagana Zulum of Borno State. He is to be blamed. He's learned enough to know that the Alau Dam required maintenance, required proactive action, but he didn't do it. He rather played politics with it. And of course, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, Federal Ministry of Environment, and other agencies that should already have known that these things are possibilities that could happen. There were no preventive measures, and when it happened, there was no prior warning signals. There was nothing. The government.
All right, Moses, quickly, in the interest of time, what tangible steps can the federal government take to shift towards a more preventative measure, and what resources would be required? Do you think that this announcement of a disaster relief fund is a step in the right direction towards helping us with that?
Well, the disaster relief fund is a stopgap approach to just to cushion the immediate effect on the people that were affected. However, there must be a clear-cut policy of, to mitigate the possibilities of such disaster. It could be fire in northern Nigeria. There have always been that desert encroachment, and there've not been any concerted effort from either state government or the federal government to mitigate all these issues. So now what we want is that states in northern Nigeria, northwest, northeast, north central, they must begin now to create policies that can protect people 20 years from now, 30 years from now, because there are already scientific proof that all these things will be happening. But they will kind of turn blind eye, blind ear, blind everything.
Moses, I guess you're harping on the need for action now and not the rhetoric. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
The Edo State governorship election is heating up with allegations of rigging, plots and voter intimidation. The ruling People's Democratic Party has accused the opposition All Progressive Congress of planning to rig the elections in polling units near Senator Adams Oshomole's hometown. The State Commissioner for Communication and Orientation, Chris Nehikare, stated this during a press conference in Benin City on Sunday, claiming that the same scenario played out in the last election in 2020. The PDP claims that APC agents are producing mask and police uniforms to disguise thugs and disrupt voting processes. The APC denies these allegations, calling them horrific hallucinations and accusing the PDP of trying to distract from their own shortcomings. With the election just days away, tensions are running high in Edo State. In the meantime, the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, has commended the Inspector General of Police for committing to support the peace process and ensure a level playing field for all candidates in the state's September 21 gubernatorial election. The governor expressed this on the heels of a meeting of the members of the Edo State PDP caucus. Briefing journalists after the meeting, the governor also commended the efforts and preparations of INEC to guarantee a credible election on Saturday. Governor Obaseki also expressed readiness of the PDP for the election.
The caucus of the party made sure that we've covered all grounds, and the leaders of our party have assured me that they are all heading back home now, to hoping that when the courts resume tomorrow, all those people who have been detained in Abuja all these weeks will be released. If they are granted bail and they are allowed to come back home to their families to participate in the democratic process, then we'll consider signing the peace accord.
We wish to state that the PDP is ready in Edo State. Votes. We believe that we are one. We believe that nobody will come and hurt his or her brother or sister at the polling unit. And we think that together we'll make the right choice and Edo will be better.
To discuss the upcoming Edo election, we're joined by political analyst Jide Ojo. Jide, it's good to have you on the news. The Commissioner's press conference leveled serious allegations against the PDP and its governorship candidate. How do you respond to claims by the PDP that these allegations are mere horrific hallucinations?
Felicity, as a student of politics and as an election observer in the last 25 years, I know this is the kind of psychological warfare that usually precedes every election in Nigeria. There are usually allegations and counter-allegations, accusations, and all of that. You recall that in the last few days, the PDP has not only accused INEC of creating an uneven playing field because, according to them, the resident electoral commissioner is a cousin to the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike. They have also said that the Commissioner of Police in Edo State is also linked to Nyesom Wike, and have requested that the two gentlemen should be redeployed. Of course, they've been rebuffed, and now they are alleging that APC wants to rig in their stronghold. I now said that eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Whatsoever will happen on Saturday, we will all be alive to witness it. The most important thing is that these allegations are not to be taken lightly, and all the relevant security agencies should be alive to their responsibilities. If what PDP has alleged is credible enough, they should pass that information to the relevant security agencies. After all, we were told by Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun last Thursday during the peace signing accord that there will be 35,000 policemen to be deployed in Edo State.
Jide, but there has been responses to some of these allegations. Like you rightly pointed out, the commissioner has come out to debunk the wreck that is alleged to have affiliation with Wike. Though confirmed that there is an affiliation, they've said it wouldn't affect his partiality. And INEC has also come up to say that the process itself is open to everybody to interpret. So where does that leave us really? When you talk about investigation, what other investigation should we be looking at, even though the accusations are weighty?
What I'm saying, Felicity, is that this is not unexpected if you have followed the trajectory of politics in Nigeria. Ahead of every election, there will be allegations and counter-allegations, particularly from the major gladiators, the high-profile contestants and the dominant political parties. They are usually the ones. If you go back in time, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020, 2024, here we are. Even in 2023, all of these rhetorics, we had them all before. It's just part of the winning strategy of the parties to make allegations, to harp on, all manner of rabble-rousing. But what I'm saying is that, well, if they have credible evidence to support their claims that the APC was going to rig election, first, they have opportunity to deploy party agents across all the polling units in Edo State. Two, they also have the right to pass such information across to security agencies for further investigations. And number three, now that they have come up in the public domain, I think the accredited observers and accredited journalists will be on the lookout to see whether such will happen in those places where those allegations have been raised. But so far, the most important thing is that this is part of the weapon of election warfare. Election is a war by other means, where you don't shoot guns, but you use rhetorics, you use psychological warfare to intimidate your opponent, and that is actually.
But there are worries by the ordinary voter about this allegation and counter allegations about their security. The police are yet to come out and say no, we are not partisan. Aside from the commissioner saying that it is the same police that were implicated in the allegations, and it is the same police that are not investigating these matters. There is an implication here, isn't it?
The Inspector General of Police have committed himself on a number of occasions, including last Thursday and even today. Yesterday, there was a security summit that was facilitated by KDI, that's K-Park Development Initiative, where the Inspector General of Police issued a video where he committed to creating a level playing field and making a commitment that they will be even-handed and they will not be biased, they will not be prejudiced against any of the contestants. And I think we should give the police and other security agencies benefit of that. But why is it only one side of the divide that all of these allegations are coming from? There are 18 political parties. Why is it PDP that is crying wolf, that is raising issues about the resident electoral commissioner, about commissioner of police, about APC wanting to rig election? Is it that PDP has bigger and better intelligence than all the other contestants and political parties? Or is it just part of their own strategy to winning this election? The most important thing is that this is not specific to Edo State. It's been the weapons that politicians across the world use to their advantage.
I guess these things only work because the INEC and the police have not encouraged this confidence from voters as to their transparency. So I guess this is an opportunity for both parties. You said we should give them the benefit of doubt. This is an opportunity for them to prove that the people can trust them with the Edo State governorship election. Thank you for speaking with us.
It's my pleasure. Keep safe.
You too. Let's go to one of our headline stories tonight. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has raised concerns over the pricing of petrol from the Dangote refinery, urging the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to ensure it is not sold at a higher price than imported fuel. Ipman argues that such a disparity would be counterproductive to the nation's drive for energy self-sufficiency and could negatively impact consumers and marketers alike. Ipman National Welfare Officer John Kekeocha, during an interview on Monday, said the pricing strategy for locally refined petrol should reflect the advantage of domestic production, offering Nigerians a more affordable option. The association emphasized that maintaining competitive pricing is crucial for the success of the Dangote refinery and for fostering a sustainable fuel market in the country. Away from that, Muslim faithful in Jos, the Plateau State capital, north-central Nigeria, joined their counterparts across the country to celebrate this year's Eid al-Maulud, otherwise known as the commemoration of the birth of Prophet Muhammad. News Central's Chizoba Anyowe reports that both men and women, young and old, gathered from far and near to celebrate this annual event which commemorates the life of the Prophet and the need for followers to imbibe such virtues. A report.
A mammoth crowd thronged the Rampal Township Stadium as Muslim faithful gathered with their families, friends, and well-wishers in their different attires for this year's Eid al-Maulud celebration. Different groups and students from Islamic schools in Jos were also around for different presentations. The chief imam of the Central Mosque in Plateau State spoke on the significance of Eid al-Maulud, while Khalifa Mustafa Gwarando said a prayer for the country in distress.
The significance of commemorating the birth of Prophet Muhammad is for us to inculcate into our day-to-day activities the teachings of Prophet Muhammad and the good values of Islam.
Governor Caleb Mutfwang was represented at the event to felicitate with the Muslim faithful.
The Deputy Speaker, Plateau State Assembly, and other government machineries have come to solidarize, to fraternize in unison with the Muslim brothers and sisters on the plateau. So this is a significant event. Like I said, it's auspicious. That is why we have come to celebrate with the Muslim Ummah.
Even in the face of the current economic crisis in Nigeria, the Muslim Ummah were urged to remain steadfast.
We dedicated this year's Eid al-Maulud celebration, which is the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad to specifically pray for our country to survive and come out clean from this hardship.
The love, the kindness, the patience, all are attributes of him.
Islam is a religion of peace. As long as we are Muslims, we must, continue with the tradition of peace, peaceful coexistence.
Prayers for a better Nigeria were also said on this 55th annual celebration of the Eid al-Maulud on the plateau. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
Thank you for staying with News Central. The United States military announced Monday that it had completed its withdrawal from Niger after coup leaders in the African country demanded that its troops depart. The United States had more than 1,000 troops in Niger as part of anti-jihadist missions in several Sahel nations of West Africa, including a major drone base near Agadez. But Niger's military leaders scrapped a military cooperation deal with Washington after seizing power in a 2023 coup. The U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, announced that the withdrawal of U.S. forces and assets from Niger is complete in a statement.
The Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative reported that the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee allocated 3.473 trillion naira to the three tiers of government in the second quarter of 2024, reflecting an increase of 46.77 billion naira, that's about 1.42% from the previous quarter. NATI's Assistant Director, Chris Ochonu, noted that the report aims to enhance public accountability in managing finances. The federal government received 1.102 trillion naira, while states and local councils received 1.337 trillion naira and 864.98 billion naira, respectively. NATI then urged states to diversify revenue sources and improve transparency in financial management. The National Bureau of Statistics has reported that the Consumer Price Index fell to 32.15% in August 2024, down from 33.40% in July 2024. On a month-on-month basis, the headline inflation rate for August 2024 was 2.22%, which is 0.06% lower than 2.28% recorded in the previous month. This decline indicates a slight easing in inflation trends, reflecting changes in consumer prices during this period.
In the world of sport, the Honourable Minister of Sport Development, Senator John Eno, has expressed his deep admiration for the impressive display of talent at the ongoing National Youth Games in Asaba Delta State. Senator Eno praised young athletes highlighting an extraordinary potential being displayed at this year's event. Among the many youngsters shining bright in Delta, one standout is Isabella Emil Joy Ikado, the youngest female chess player in Nigeria. At just 8 years old, Ikado represents Kogi State, having developed a passion for chess at a tender age of 3. Senator Eno lauded Ikado's achievement, emphasizing the importance of identifying and supporting such talent at an early stage. The president of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, Musa Kide, has expressed the federation's satisfaction with the performances of Nigeria's under-18 male and female teams at the AfroBasket Under-18 Championship in South Africa. Both teams arrived at the Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos, on Monday afternoon at about 2 p.m. The Under-18 women's team qualified for the FIBA Under-19 World Cup scheduled for Czech Republic from July 12 to 20, 2025, despite losing 75-56 to Mali on the final. On the other hand, the Under-18 men's team were eliminated in the quarterfinals by Mali after losing 81-70. While also commending the Sport Ministry for unending support to the Federation, Kida emphasized the need for early and adequate preparation for the girls ahead of the FIBA Under-19 World Cup. Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe has confirmed that the 2025 African Nations Championship, or CHAN, will now take place from February 1st to 28, 2025. This announcement comes after the tournament, originally scheduled for September 2023, was postponed due to congested football calendar and issues with stadium certification. Motsepe was speaking during a CAF Executive Committee meeting held in Nairobi, Kenya on Monday, September 16. The president expressed optimism about the upcoming tournament, highlighting the commitment of the 3 host countries, Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda, to providing world-class facilities for the championship. His visit includes inspections of 3 Kenyan stadiums in Kasarani, in Nyayo and Talanta, which are undergoing significant renovations to meet CAF's international standards. And finally in sports, the long-awaited heavyweight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury must definitely take place by the end of 2025 or it will never happen, that's according to boxing promoter Eddie N. A super fight between 2 generational stars of British boxing has been mooted for several years, but always stalled during the negotiations. Joshua challenges Daniel Dubois for the IBF belts at Wembley Stadium on Saturday, while Fury takes on Alexander Usyk, who holds the 3 other recognized world titles in December's rematch. If both men win their respective fights, a multi-million-pound unification fight for the belts is guaranteed. And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaru.
Tonight on Entertainment News, veteran Nollywood actor Emmanuel France has reportedly passed away, renowned for his captivating performances and profound influence on Nollywood. His death has deeply affected both fans and colleagues. Tributes have been pouring in on social media, with many expressing heartfelt sorrow and admiration for the late actor. Some have connected his passing to a broader societal issue in Nigeria, reflecting on the nation's current challenges. France's impact extended well beyond his on-screen roles. He was a pivotal figure during Nollywood's golden era, His performances in films such as Domitila in 1996 and The Curfew in 2021 left a lasting impression, ensuring his legacy will be cherished for years to come. He was 81 years old. While details surrounding his passing are still emerging, the widespread respect and admiration expressed on social media underscore the significant impact he had on those who knew him. Messages of condolences continue to honor his life and contributions. International superstar Pharrell Williams has announced that the Something in the Water Festival is being postponed to 2025. The festival, which was initially planned for April and then rescheduled to October, will now be held at a later date. Pharrell explained that the event needs more time to meet the high standards he believes Virginia deserves. He expressed his deep affection for the state, emphasizing that the festival must reflect the best possible experience and honor Virginia's significance in his life. In his statement, Pharrell highlighted that the festival is not just a personal project, but a celebration for the state of Virginia. He stressed that it needs to be exceptional and fully prepared to do justice to the love and support he has received from Virginia throughout his life. This decision to postpone the festival aims to ensure that it achieves the excellence that the state deserves. That's all on Entertainment Tonight. Moving away from entertainment, let's take a look at what's trending as the hashtag 950 in Lagos is trending following the fact that the official price of petrol in Lagos has risen to 950 naira per litre following a late-night announcement by the NNPCL. This is the second increase in September, up from 560 naira to 897 naira earlier in the month. In other regions of the country, the prices are higher, getting up to over 1,000 naira per litre. Lagos has the lowest price due to the logistical advantage of sourcing petrol from the nearby Dangote refinery, which sells to NNPC at 842 naira per litre. A lot of Nigerians took to social media to express their concerns. Let's take a look at some tweets. At Williams_Chi, this 950 in Lagos is just for NNPC fuel stations. Other fuel stations will either shut down or sell over 1,000 naira. We will all trek. NNPC has hijacked the whole thing. Now we can see. Monopoly is now in the hands of NNPC. Dangote gets petrol. Na NNPC they sell am. At Sir David Bent, not surprised that Dangote's fuel will sell for 950 naira in Lagos. This is because the dollar was still paid as legal tender for buying from him. His refinery changes nothing, and the scarcity we experienced was artificial and deliberate. Expect to buy at 2,000 naira per litre eventually. At Ofunwa_gift, this is all the handiwork of the government or some cabals in the government making sure their pockets are being filled despite the hardship of the country. At Ox Authority, I've said this before, we're first going to buy fuel $1 per litre, then graduate to 2,000 naira per litre. We're very docile people in this country. We will not complain, not fight against, but grumble and then just accept whatever, as long as we see it available. That's all on What's Trending.
And that's all tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu has visited flood-hit Maiduguri and sympathized with victims. 3 people are feared dead, 30 have been kidnapped in Kaduna bandit attack. Ipman has raised concerns over pricing of petrol from Dangote refinery. We also told you that the U.S. has completed withdrawal of troops from Niger Republic. Would like to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on social media at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Evo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for watching. Good night.